Hey fellow artists! So be nice today with me because I'm making for the first time this kind of video. A few people asked me questions about my first experience with gouache, especially with those Himi jellies, so I decided I will do some video editing and share it. Okay, so let's unbox this. So when I open it, first thing I noticed is this big palette inside. I think it's always convenient to have some additional space like this to mix the colors. And as you can see, this palette comes with 80 different ones, which is already more than enough for a starter pack. Here are the jellies. Looks like candies. And there's little doodles everywhere over the box, and each jelly looks simple and cute. At first, I wanted to keep the caps on to avoid the jellies to dry too quickly and keep the color reference just in case of refill. But it seems it won't be convenient. From what I understood, the big advantage of this palette is the jellies are not supposed to dry too fast, and it's meant to be ready to paint, so better remove it. Also, in my way to paint, I always feel more inspired to see directly the colors in front of me, instead of looking for references on side color swatches. Well, I have to admit, this is really not the most sophisticated unboxing video. Maybe because I was so excited that I haven't been thinking too much before doing this, and yeah, it's becoming messy and dirty quickly to set up everything in place. So I have to wash several times my hands because I didn't want to mess it up with paint, and yeah, now I think after that I won't touch it again. So the setup looks cute, but my guess is it will become quickly difficult to keep it clean. Let's keep it real. How many people actually clean their brushes before changing colors? Now this is time for some color swatches and tests. So I wanted to have a first look on the colors on different kind of paper I'm using. Like my white watercolor sketchbook, the one I'm using most of the time, my recycled craft paper, and some black ones, which is good sometimes to play with different tones. But I noticed the consistency of each color is not exactly the same, so this is something to get used to. But I'm surprised in a good way, because even if sometimes I'm using a bit too much of water, the pigments still look bright and covering, and that's a good thing for a cheap student grade. Now some time-lapse and videos, even if I couldn't record everything. So I decided to do a couple of tests with different styles and way to paint to get more used to those paint before sharing a clear feedback. And I have to say, I'm usually more into watercolor, so it's difficult for me to compare with other gouache brands. I use gouache sometimes, but only to add a few details in my illustration. I just wanted to do some more gouache studies and practice on rough paintings with more lights and colors. Something different. And also because now I'm based in Indonesia and sometimes the weather here is too warm and humid, it really takes so long for watercolors to dry correctly, especially with all the texture I like to add. So here I came with gouache. So I was looking for local brands or something I can find easily and cheaper. And yeah, coming from France, I never heard about this brand Miya before. It's not really common in Europe, and I don't remember I saw this when I was living in Japan. From what I understood, it's a famous brand in China and also probably Indonesia, and it's commonly used by art students because it's very convenient to have all those colors ready to paint, and that's quick and efficient. Also, this brand is quite affordable for a good quantity and range of different colors. It's probably not the best brand, but I can feel sometimes the texture of the paint it feels thick, and sometimes it's hard to paint and mix together the colors, but I think it's a good balance between price and quality. and I'm still positively surprised. Well, as I said, I'm not really the gouache expert, so I can't really compare and say maybe it's just my skills. The best feeling I had with those pens was while I was working on this painting. I did something very rough, maybe 20 minutes, and this is not really detailed, but I like the atmosphere. And this one, on the contrary, I struggle a bit more. Maybe because I tried to add more details, but I didn't have the good brushes. The texture is interesting though. I did a couple of illustrations with more water, and the result is quite similar to watercolor, without the same quality though. But I like the effect. The render is quite charming like that, looks like children illustration. And this one is just a 10-minute illustration with mixed technique. Something like 20 minutes rough studies. I'm not very good at portraits, so this is something really nice to practice sometimes. I have to say I have fun with gouache with that kind of rough painting style. For me, it's a new way to work, different than watercolors. With watercolors, I play around white space and light, and with gouache, I play more with different layers and I can retake it easily, and I think, yeah, it's different. Just let's try, give it a try. So before ending, how to take care of your palette to keep it longer. So here and there you can already notice some cracks on the paint. It's been actually 1-2 weeks I'm using it, and yeah, it's already started to dry out. The good news is, if you want to reactivate your jellies, just spray a little bit of water on it, or do like I'm doing now, just cleaning a bit the stains and the color by pouring a little bit of water with the brush. You can use distilled water to avoid mold and bacteria, but if you can't find this, I think just regular water, it's okay. That's all. So I hope it will help to keep your palette longer. And now it's time for my final feedback. So I think overall it's a nice palette. It's actually quite cheap, but pigments are bright and covering. The paint is non-toxic, which is good if you have children or pets. And it's really convenient to have so many colors just ready to paint. And maybe it's me, but sometimes I've been struggling with balancing the water and the paint. I was expecting a more creamy texture, something more easy to mix actually. Also, the palette itself is quite big and heavy. And the jellies, they are open inside, so I don't think it's a good idea to carry on this palette everywhere with you. And as I just said, you will have to take care of the jellies to avoid them to dry out and to avoid to get dirty too quickly. I think this palette is not for long-term use, and it's not made to keep it many years. I think it's more adapted if you want to paint a lot and practice, and you will use everything within a few months, so you don't have to worry about the jellies drying out. So yes, I would recommend this for students mostly, and also for people who want to practice, to do rough painting and paint a lot. And my best advice would be, just try it. Practice, experiment, and keep it fun. There is no correct way, there is no wrong way, you will find your way to use it. Et voilà! I hope this little review helped you and inspired you. Please like and feel free to share your feedback in the comments. Bye!